Hey, we love that umbrella guy. All right. Thank you.
I'm calling from Los Angeles, and I'm having a little problem under the name ThatUmbrellaGuy. I sent him my phone number at least 20 times in the chat and told him to call me. He ignored me. I'm a man. I filed the report. If you guys could take a look at it and give me a call back, I would love to hear what you guys can do to help us. We really need to kind of stop this guy at least until Monday. I told him to call me. I'm a man.
Rolling up, I'm feeling fly, yeah, I'm so damn fresh. Got that platinum grill, bringing in the chest. Diamonds in my mouth, shining when I speak. That umbrella guy, flossing, speaking geek. Ice on my teeth, I'm dripping so hard. Platinum grills, I'm the king of the boulevard. Throwing money in the club, making haters mad. I'm the baddest in the game, no one gets a pass. Ooh yeah. Crushing all these lines, yeah, I feel fly. Rolling on the dubs, that umbrella guy. Iced out chrome on the boulevard. You ain't a comic gangster, don't be playing hard. Ice on my teeth, I'm flying so high. Dropping the bass, that umbrella guy. One grill to rule them all, one grill to bind them. Baby, I'm so iced out, gonna blind them. Rolling in town, I'm an army of one. Doing verbal walk-bys, blazing like the sun. Riding in my whip, crushing false accusers. Dropping off the bass on the real abusers. Yeah. Living life fast, no time for the slow. Justice on my mind, stacking up on that flow. Life in the fast lane, no time to blink. Ice on my teeth, watch it when I speak. Chillin' on my rhymes, never missing the beat. Ice on my teeth, yeah, I'm living that sweet. That umbrella guy, bringing the platinum heat. Crushing every hater, no time for defeat. Ooh yeah.
Ooh yeah, indeed. Hey there, how's it going? Welcome to a Saturday edition. By the way, I keep forgetting what day it is. It's Sunday for some reason. It's been one of those days. This is funny, by the way. You know, one of my daughters, she heard the intro song that I was playing, you know, with ice on my teeth, and she was like, "Dad, why would you want to put ice cubes on your teeth?" I thought that was really funny. I held up for 1 second here. I gotta close the door. Sorry about that. I had to get them close the door. They opened it after left it open. Sandra, by the way, thank you for the gifted membership, starting that out. Thank you. Fallen Hero as well. Thank you for your gifted membership too. Yeah, we've been watching a meltdown. I'm going to catch that in just a second. It's been kind of funny to watch. Apparently a certain lawyer is just, it is something to behold. Over the last couple of days, he is losing his ever-loving freaking mind. And I'm kind of enjoying watching it too. Oh, it's one of my favorite shows. You know, the David Gingrich show has not been on very, very long lately, but yeah, apparently getting a complaint for the bar has sent him spiraling over the fucking edge. I mean, he's been talking about betrayal. He's been trying to blame the fact that he doxed He doxed the first victim of Laura. He's actually been trying to blame that somehow on Woodnick. I mean, it's fascinating stuff to behold. Oh, I've been watching. I've been like, man, he's not going to keep giving us gifts, is he? And the answer is yes. Yes, he is. He's going to continue giving us gifts. Let me pull some of this up. I mean, it's been kind of amazing to watch. Like I said, I kept thinking it was going to stop, and it just never did. Let's see. Which one do I want to start with? If you look at the timeline, let me pull up the timeline first, just to show you like how wild this has sent him on a freaking posting spiral. Okay, check this stuff out. Give me 1 minute here. Make sure nothing's up there. Okay, check this out. So if you go on here, you can see a couple of posts here, right? You're like, oh, yeah, that's not bad, right? Just a couple of posts, sure, of the last. Yeah, no, that's not actually. When you go in and start looking at replies, that includes replies to himself. Yeah, he just, I mean, wow. Oh, it's amazing. I mean, it just keeps going and going. Look, we're just into 6 hours here, you know. I mean, he's been living online, like throwing fits. I mean, this has sent him into a spiral over the last couple of days, and it's fascinating. Some of this spiral is, it's pretty awesome too. I mean, when you check this out, for example, look at this here. Give me 1 minute here. Lock this in. He's like, in my 20 plus years as a lawyer, I've never been betrayed so badly. That's what it sounds like to me. Oh, I love it. You cannot believe this is the same guy that was bragging about people losing their jobs after facing off with him. And now when he's looking down the barrel of having problems in the aftermath of a trial, somehow things are, it's different. It's so different. RZ, thanks for the 2 there. Yeah, Susan Wachowski died of lung cancer yesterday. Yeah, I saw that. She was the, how do I say this nicely? This just happened, so I felt I wouldn't comment on it right away because I don't wish that on anyone's families. But the person that was over YouTube, she's the one who started the censorship regime. She's the one that started the mass bannings. And, I mean, she destroyed a lot of people's lives and livelihoods that I've known. So out of that, I don't have nice things to say. But I don't wish that on anyone either. So I did see that. So I figured that would be a topic for another day after some time cleared just a little bit. You know, because that's, you know, in the aftermath, the nicety that you extend isn't the nicety extended to people that it has. Like, you know, they're no longer going to hear what you have to say. It's extending that to their families. I've seen a lot of people that were angry online. I understand that. They've had a lot of terrible things to say, but again, you know, I say that for a couple of days. But yeah, I did see that. At 56 too. And this is just after a few months after her son had passed of an overdose. So yeah, I mean, because I wouldn't wish any of that on anybody, regardless of how I feel about them. So, anyway, David. So here's David talking about complaints. He's like, well, there's been some questions about whether the Arizona bar will consider complaints from a lawyer against another lawyer arising from pending litigation. In my 20 plus years in Arizona, I've only filed one bar complaint against another lawyer. here's what happened. I mean, he's been on this too. It's kind of funny. Like I said, you can just see, you can tell when things hit him a little too close to the vest. So he posts this. He's like, well, let's see. Dear Mr. Gingras, I reviewed your subpoena regarding Mr. Redacted and listened to this too. It's kind of interesting, and discussed with you some of the questions I had regarding your submission. After my review, I've determined further investigation is not warranted at this time. The case is closed. The issues you raise, such as allegations of frivolous claims and lawsuits. Wait a minute. Does that sound like anybody that we've seen David Gingras actually representing? So he complained about somebody pushing frivolous claims and lawsuits. Perjury? Wait. Perjury? Huh. That's got to really hit close to the vest, doesn't it? And misrepresenting copyright claims, appropriate action, and misrepresentation under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, legal issues that require determination by a court of law. As you are involved in current ongoing civil litigation, the court is the appropriate venue at this point to address issues related to the case, and as the court is most familiar with the facts, rules, statutes, and case law for your case, concerns such as yours should, therefore, be addressed to the judge presiding over your proceedings. It is inappropriate for the state bar to get involved in active cases. So you see where he's going with this, right? He's like, well, I complained about stuff like this, and the bar was saying that it's inappropriate. It's totally inappropriate. It's funny. It's really hits close. Very close there. Wendy A says, thanks for the two. Says on the bottle again. Indeed. What's up, John? By the way, dropped 20 gifted memberships too. Thank you, John. Appreciate that, my friend. Man, kicking that off. By the way, yesterday I was going to have a live stream and cover the beginning of this, but instead I chose another option. I love spending time with you folks, but I spent time with the kiddos. So that's why we're covering all of it today, even though it started popping off yesterday. So he says, the lawyer is trying to hide the fact that his wife was arrested. She had an embarrassing mugshot on a website my client owned, and also on Twitter. To help hide the mugshot, the lawyer filed a copyright registration claiming the wife owned the copyright in her own mugshot. Hiding embarrassing details. Let's see. Have we ever had let's just say a lawyer that wanted to hide embarrassing details for clientele or himself, and they said that they would, I don't know, drive other people to bankruptcy and make them destitute? Have we ever heard of a lawyer that's done such heinous things before in life? Because I'm thinking there's one out there, huh? Again, we're not talking about copyright claiming items out there, but we are talking about saying if you continue to discuss this, they would, wait a minute, I guess they did claim something. My bad, I forgot. They did copyright claim a certain horse video, didn't they? You remember the falling off the 3-foot pony jokes? I guess there was an item that they didn't like being out there, so they did try to shut that one down. And as far as shutting down other channels, they've definitely aimed for doing that too. They've definitely gone out, trying to remove the ability to talk about what's happened in this case. Again, they've said that they would sue people down into the ground, baby. So isn't that fascinating, huh? I totally, like I said, I forgot all the way about that copyright claim there. Totally forgot about that. Man, there's been so much stuff. There's so much stuff that's active in the case that we saw that sometimes it's hard to even keep up with all the other crazy. But it continues. As part of the process, the lawyer filed documents within the U.S. Copyright Office, which he signed under penalty of perjury, swearing his wife was the photographer who created her mugshot. It was taken by the police, of course, so he committed perjury on the registration form. That would be like filling out a copyright claim on YouTube and swearing that you would take somebody to court over a video of ponies, saying that person, they have no right of ownership to said video, and striking it off other channels. I'm feeling some weird parallels here. Are you noticing some? What's up, fake Laura Owens, by the way? Thanks for the vibe. Listen, I knew he was bottom of the barrel when I hired him. There's no need to point it out to the rest of the world. Oh. It is funny he points it out himself, actually, when you get down to it. I mean, that's the best part of it all. Like, nobody else has to actually point it out. He does a good job of it. On the registration form, the lawyer also falsified the date the image was taken. He tried to backdate it so Twitter would think the image was taken before his wife's arrest. So backdating images. We're not backdating an image, but I remember now it wasn't, we can't attribute this to the lawyer themselves, but in this case, we've seen images that had the wrong dates assigned to them. Yeah, again, there are a lot of interesting little parallels. Again, not exactly the same, but aren't they fascinating? Another instance of perjury. This is a federal crime because it was sent to a federal agency. The lawyer then sent 4 to 5 DMCA copyright, that would be, your copyright takedowns, notices to Twitter, Google, other sites on which he swore, under penalty of perjury, that his wife owned the copyright in her mugshot. This sadly worked with several sites. They removed the mugshot. My client did not. The lawyer then sued. Isn't this fascinating? So, again, this sounds like it draws parallels to some stuff that he said he would sue over if people continued to talk about. Laura Owens. Laura Owens and the magic that has been her entire... Oh, I got a kid here. Hey, what's up? What you doing?
Sissy, let me have a piece of egg.
A piece of what?
Egg.
Oh, well, tell her to share. Go.
What?
An egg?
Yeah,
You said egg?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what Sissy doesn't have. Look, over by my chair, there's a bag of chips. You can have them if you want them. Do you see them?
Yes.
They're over there. You can have mine. Take them. Take them.
What about the chips upstairs?
Oh, there's some upstairs? Well, take those then.
Okay.
Have them. Close my door, though, okay?
Okay.
All right. Okay. You'll be good. She's like, Sissy had an egg and she didn't share it with me. It's like, she didn't share an egg with you? No. Like, okay. All right, well, I know there's some chips that you left down here. So, why don't you have those for a minute? It's just funny. Little kids argue over the strangest things sometimes. Earlier, they were arguing over, I think they were plastic ants. Like a big plastic ant toy. Sissy won't share her plastic ants with me. I was like, she won't? That's terrible. It's a war crime. Let's get that fixed. Hey, what's up, John, man? Thanks for additional 5. Wifey says hi to the chat. She can't really type well for herself. Well, hey, return hello to her. Always appreciate her. Appreciate you, too. I hope she's doing great today, by the way. I know there have been a lot of things going on. That's the one thing I love. Like, things happen. The other day, for example, 2 days ago, I was having a really day. And it was really fun hanging out with y'all. Today's been fun to hang out, too. It puts me in a good mindset. So I appreciate you all, and I hope you all are doing great. Rhea Rye, thanks for the 5 there. Dingus has had enough, and he's going home now. He's going to pack his wife's shorts and his briefcase and sulk at home alone. Dingus has no friends. You know what's weird is he acted like he thought that at the end of this, he and Woodnick would be best friends. Haven't you gotten that feeling from when he talks about this case? Like, you know, all the other cases that I was involved in, at the end of it, we're all best friends. And now he's shocked that people might actually file complaints about him, acting like just an insane piece of crap. I mean, it's amazing to me. But he continues here. The lawyer lied in the complaint, claimed that his wife was innocent of wrongdoing. The truth is, she admitted guilt as part of the plea deal for punching a cop while drunk. This lawyer's misconduct was so extreme, I concluded I had a mandatory duty to report it to the state bar. This is required by ethics rules. This guy is complaining about ethics. Are you fucking kidding? You talking about the baseball signaler? Slide in the home plate. Slide, Laura, slide. That guy's complaining about ethics? That is magical. You've got to admit. I mean, David is one of my favorite. He's one of my favorites to listen to because he is just so out there. It's like, oh man, I'm required under ethics rules to behave a certain way. Yeah, you're supposed to behave a certain way when it comes to clientele. Maybe you're not supposed to take aim at judges while you're doing certain things too. But, you know, what do I know? What do I know, right? I'm not a lawyer. Although I have to say, it seems like it's pretty easy to be one, right? I mean, holy crap. Just pull up a few things, rant about the orange man, and put in hypotheticals that are attempting to ruin somebody else's life. Oh, and screw up a case pretty badly. I mean, hell, I don't think I could screw up Laura Owens' case any worse than he did. You know, not taking blame off Laura, but I don't think I could do a worse job. You know, it would be very difficult. I mean, my God. Hey, fake Laura, by the way. Thanks to the 5 there. Tug's kid's so cute. My fake kids sound like that too. Oh, that's so beautiful. But when I hear their voices, well, Mummy does also sometimes. That video with Mummy talking, by the way, was crazy. Crazy stuff. What's up, John, man? 10 more gifted memberships, brother. I saw that fall in. Thank you, my friend. Like I said, you know, I know you're having a day the other day too. Anytime people are having, you know, I'm not always able to get to every email out there, man. But if people are having a bad day, you need a vent or something, man, you guys have my email. Y'all let me vent to you. You know, if I'm having an off day or something, I'm angry about something. That goes both ways for you folks too. Appreciate you though, John. Thank you, buddy. But with ethical rules, so that's what I did. I supported the bar complaint with irrefutable evidence that the lawyer committed multiple acts of perjury. Look, a random like. Look, it's like he took a stray there. Look at this. I'll go back. But look, it's like he took a stray. You notice all of this. Look, 400, 429, 419, 435, 4... Whoop, random like. Rather than investigating and taking action to protect the public, as is the bar's stated mission, the bar threw my complaint in the trash. Their reason, it's inappropriate for the state bar to get involved in active cases. Thus, my complaint was dismissed. To me, this was a sad betrayal. I was betrayed by the bar. He should write a book about all the places that have betrayed him. You know what I mean? All those terrible YouTubers that have been so mad and peed on the floats on his parade. You know, all those pesky witnesses that have come out and betrayed his clients. I mean, again, he could just write a book about it all. How dare they? But the sad betrayal in the bar was claimed mission to protect the public. How did they protect the public in this case? This lawyer lied under oath over and over to protect his drunk wife. The bar did not care and took no action against him. So yes, the Arizona bar does have a policy of not getting involved in pending litigation. Here's where this is the real punchline here. This is, you can tell, like, look how much he rants about this, right? Except apparently in Laura Owens versus Clayton Echard. There's his meltdown. I mean, again, he's having a fucking meltdown online because of it. He's like, oh, the bar, they don't take me seriously. But when I do wrong, doesn't that sound like it? When I do wrong, then they want to take and have accountability? What's going on, man? Well, what's happening? What's up, Sandy, by the way? Thanks for the 25 months. Hugs to you and the girls. Thank you. Also, Sandy said a a bunch of stuff not too long ago. And it was awesome. To appreciate you, Sandy. You're awesome. But, except in Laura Owens, Clayton Echard. But that doesn't mean they're right to do so. It doesn't mean I'm concerned. They'll do the right thing eventually. He's not concerned. He's not worried about this. It's not going to hurt him in any way, guys. Totally. He's totally okay. Now, there's a lot more meltdown to this. This is just part one. In fact, he continues going on with this. He's actually posted quite a few different things, but as far as this one, like this particular subject, he continued back to it, which was amazing. And he says it's going to be a short post, so of course you know he's going to write a freaking essay. Look at this. This is amazing, too. He's like, check this out here. I love it. You always know it's going to be really entertaining if he says, I'm just going to post a little bit about it. You know? Here, check this out. He's like a quick update, you know? Quick updates. Look at that. Like his version of a quick, like me, I try not to ever change, but I will every now and then take advantage of long form tweets. Every now and then that are under the new Twitter policies. But I do that if I'm trying to make sure that I get details of like a false accusation, or especially if something's contentious. I really try to do that. But I never chain post. Like, not like this. I may post something underneath one time, but I don't do chain posts. This guy, if he's going to do this, why doesn't he just write a blog about it? I mean, holy God, he's already done it, right? Wait, has he written a blog about it? Let me check. let me make sure he has it. I haven't looked lately. Let me make sure first. I didn't think he had written one lately, but nope. He's just writing his blogs out in Twitter posts now, apparently. I had to make sure. I was like, why doesn't he write? Oh, wait, maybe he did write one. Oh, my God. It's bad when you don't even know if this guy, he can't control himself. What? Quick update. Ari Barr complains because a few folks have asked. Because a few folks. He gets you know what's crazy? He gets a few comments there. Like, you can tell this guy sits off in the corner and just fucking talks to himself. You know, he gets no traction whatsoever. And he gets so ass mad about everything. I mean, everything. I'm not saying like one thing online might not make you mad. But this guy, he loses it over every single thing that comes up. And it's amazing. You can tell he never gets attention. What's up, John? Thanks for the vibe there. I was having a bad day last week. One of my favorite channels, or MXR Plays, got banned, but they're back now. Yeah, actually, so there was a lot of people that wrote about that, by the way. Again, I don't know what helps with this, but I'll, with our MCNs, like, we'll complain about other channels, because if other channels get taken down, that leaves us vulnerable too. So I complained to anyone that I could that I thought had power over that too, after you mentioned that, because I thought, again, obviously, if you're complaining about it, then I would figure that would be a stupid reason that they've gotten banned for. There's really not many reasons that are appropriate for banning. There are very, very few out there. And most channels that have been established for a hot minute, they know what they're not supposed to do. I've seen people banned. I saw a channel recently banned for playing a video that was already on YouTube, and the person that was in it having an interview was wearing a bikini. And they banned the person replaying something that was already up there. So it was okay to already be up there, but it was a violation of whatever policies, because a person in the video that YouTube had up had a bikini on. But anyway. Well, yeah, John, though, if you notice something like that too, if somebody gets banned, like, it's just like any of you. If you all notice, I notice bannings sometimes, but if it's not somebody that I know, like Twitter, for example, most recommends I get these days are political. I don't really want them, but I get them anyway. I get a lot of just ridiculous stuff. I'm not talking about things that should be exposed that are lies, or they're just propagandist posts. I don't want those, but I lose a lot of banning stuff. So if people notice that, man, at least I'll try to write, try to get something done about it. I'm not saying we can, but we can try. But anyway, so 8/7. So again, we're talking about remember his blow up happened on the 9th, but on 8/7, the Arizona bar asked me to respond to 2 complaints. One from Dr. Deans, and a second from a self-proclaimed JFC collective member, initials HW. HW asked to remain anonymous, so I'll respect that. You see the implied threat to that, though? You see the implied threat there. They asked to remain anonymous. I know who they are, by the way. Can you not feel that in that post? I'll respect it for now. But the other one, Dr. Deans. Now, isn't that fascinating? You know why Dr. Deans is complaining? And this was brought up in the trial, but it was brought up many times by many people. This man was not supposed to be out there posting medical information about people. And he decided that he would. He would write entire blogs about it. Now, he's looking down the barrel of a potential problem because he was told not to do this stuff. And he's going to make plenty of excuses for it. It's fascinating to behold when you see it. What's up, John? Again, thank you for another 10 gifted memberships, too. I saw gifted memberships raining down. I was like, damn, there's some more in there. Thank you, John. I'm trying to, by the way, I'm trying to see, when we do live streams, what I'm trying to do is I'm not trying to disrupt what we're doing by bringing up super chats in there, but sometimes y'all have very relevant questions. And if it's just me by myself, I can hit them in the moment. I'm going to try that for, I'm going to try that for a week or so and just see how well that works. With a guest, that doesn't work. Not as easy. I mean, it does, like if Megan's here, we can do that. But if it's another, obviously, if you're doing interviews, you couldn't do that. But if it's just me and I'm covering something, if it's a video, maybe not. But if we're doing talk like this, I'm going to see how if we can keep, because like I said, a lot of questions come up and I won't know what it is because we've covered like an hour or something or 2 hours. And I like having the relevance there. Again, I'm just trying to improve things a bit, make it where, again, if you ask something relevant like that, we can hit it. So, Deans and HW had similar claims that I violated a court order by posting content about the case online. Dean specifically said I posted her report, quote unquote, without consent. Now again, it's not posting about the case online. He's going to have a fit about this too. He's going to say, well, other people, like, you or I or whomever, we're talking about this, but here's the difference here. I'm not posting any new material. Material, it's either not in the court, like if we're talking about older court documentation that's come up from the other court cases people have brought up. Again, I'm not the source of that period. Many people have done great work, so props to you. I'm not trying to say that it's me, but if I go in and repost that, even if it hasn't been posted by the court, these are court filings that were already available to the public. That's the other thing also with anything that's attached to Laura Owens, Clayton Echard. We're talking about items that are relevant to the court case that have already been included or are not going to be included, like, or maybe haven't come to light yet, but they're not items that you've somehow gotten access to. Gingras is in a position where he had a lot of documentation flow by, and he did damage by putting out a victim's name that I know a few people knew, because of research, that name had come up, but nobody would put it public. In fact, that patient zero, as it were, I guess we could call them, that person, their name had, they popped up. I'm not going to go through how, but let's just say, like, looking through a bunch of stuff, it became clear who a certain person was. You could find them, and not just them, they were connected to some very high-profile names, too. Now, when that happened, Megan Fox and I actually had to talk about that. We were like, this name's come up. This name will be introduced in the court, but should it be mentioned? And both of us were like, nah, after we discussed it for a minute, sometimes with something like that, I'll use somebody as a sounding board because I want to know, in doing this, you're not trying to do damage to victims. And that person was a victim. That even though we may think that their name should be out there, that is not our prerogative to put that out there. That's them. If they don't want to be involved, you can say that there's another person, but you respect them enough. Gingras, though, didn't respect them at all. Gingras added to the nastiness and the damage that was already done by throwing them just right out there. And he did it so casually, so nasty. So, he says, these claims, they're patently groundless. The court never issued any order preventing this sort of disclosure. The court actually did. The court did indeed say that they didn't want certain types of items going into the public. And they issued it to both sides. What really sucks in lawsuits, and you see this happen a lot too, is you'll have one side that'll actually play by the rules, and the other side that doesn't. They do things all the time to violate, to harass. I mean, they just do terrible stuff, and we saw that repeated. Not just with Laura Owens, but with her counsel. Which is Laura Owens. But the counsel was out there harassing folks. Going after, prior people that she had been in relationships with. I mean, just insanity. So anyway, in his written response to the bar, sent the same day both complaints were forwarded, I explained Laura had twice asked the court to seal records and prevent public disclosures of court documents. Both requests were denied outright, and Clayton never asked for a protective order. So, again, it's Woodnick and Clayton Echard's fault that these people did this. They're trying to, first of all, he's not telling the truth here. There were statements made by the judge, but he's trying to say, well, Laura didn't want anything public. Laura actually, first of all, did want everything public. She did until it turned sideways on her. Then she didn't want anything public. She asked that everything was shut down after that. Remember, she went public with this story to begin with. If she wouldn't, her major mistake in doing everything, besides the lie, I'm just saying, exclude the fact that she's lying, okay? That is a major mistake in everything that she did. But excluding that, her major mistake that really exposed her was making this stuff public. Because Clayton Echard and The Bachelor, that name right there attached to it, Bachelor, was big enough that people did take interest. And there were a lot of people, tens of thousands of people that started discussing stuff. And when they did, it was pretty easy for them to find information. Now, after she got to a certain point and things went sideways for her, then she wanted to shut down any discussion at all. Everything. She wanted to seal the case off. And Clayton didn't want that. He wanted people to be able to talk about it, including himself. Like, there's one of the keys. Like, David Gingras never stopped. Laura never stopped. They did horrible shit until, and even after, Laura Owens, she would make statements. But when she would make them, she would pretend to be a victim. Oh, I'm a victim of this giant mob. Therefore, the same stuff her mother tried to say when the police popped up to do a welfare check. Yeah, now they want to blame Clayton Echard here. Also, Dr. Dean's report was not only published online by me, it was posted online by the court's ECR system. You remember when first of all, that document did not go into the ECR system right off the bat. Anyway, we had access to all of that documentation a long time before it was brought up in the courtroom, before it ever became something that would be relevant. I've never looked it up in the ECR, by the way. I don't know. I could look and check that. I've never looked to see if it's actually there. But what I do know is that it wasn't there for the longest time. And if the court decides they're going to post something, that's one thing. But Gingras took it upon himself to make these things public. And these are items, again, they're dealing with medical information. You're dealing with the expert. That is so just highly irregular for a lawyer to do. To take a document like that containing that type of information and to dump it out there. And then, the way he did stuff, too, it was so disingenuous. When we finally saw Dr. Dean's and we finally heard what they had to say, I didn't feel like we had a correct representation of that anyway. But that's not the point. It isn't the lying about it. It's doing it, period. If you're warned, you're told, hey, don't post this sensitive material. Don't post items. Don't post sensitive items. And then you do it, and then he's like, up. And the full report was also posted by JFC on its website. JFC on its website? Do they have a website now? Did you know? I thought beginning, I know that there's a breakdown website, but I thought, when stuff popped up at first, Reddit and other sources picked this up from him. So they didn't leak it. What he's trying to dance around is the fact that he leaked a court document. And other folks, once it's in the public, it's in the public. There's no takebacks. You know, once you've made that public, you can't force the public to not go and repost something and to talk about it. He also was posting things unredacted. That's a really major no-no. We've seen, even with courts, we've seen some pretty nasty stuff with items, you know, getting into the... We saw, for example, again, not going back to this case, but just saying, in one of the Heard documents, they buried in a very lengthy document all the addresses and phone numbers of every single witness that would appear. They doxed every one of them. That was nasty, but you know what? They managed to do that through the court system. So the court system, the ECR, is not always great with that stuff anyway, but at least it's going through the standards, and it doesn't just protect witnesses. It protects the person that's talking about that. If he's going to write a blog about it, you know, in the aftermath, again, we discussed this. We discussed that this was a problem, and he just laughed it off. He thought it was really funny until it wasn't, you know? What's up, John? Thanks for following. Told you to do a story about Rumble X suing. Yeah. I pulled up the, so we talked about that the other day. So I had a chance to read through the documentation, and we will cover that as, I think we'll do probably a dual coverage on that and some of the stuff going on with Mr. Beast. I think both of those, I think they kind of work as mutuals. They're not the same thing, but it's interesting. On some platforms, you can only talk about certain things, you know, and they're protected by the idea that you have free speech, something that, well, certain places want to shut down. They shut them down through advertising more. So I think they're relevant. But yeah, for sure. But GRAM equals the Global Association for Responsible Media. They're horrible, like ESG times 10. Yes, they control 90% plus of advertising revenue. I don't think people understand that, too. Did you realize 90% plus all revenue, all ads that come up are controlled by one organization? They have a yes or a no on it. So they'll come out and just outright say, you know, if you don't like a person, for example, that shouldn't matter. But Steven Crowder, his name came up. They were like, this organization will never allow ads to go on there. And whether you hate them or not, that's your prerogative. But they're just like straight up 90% of advertisers just like that taken away. Yeah, that's messed up. And they're being sued over a lot of madness. So yeah, for sure. But fake Laura Owens, thanks for 5. I didn't want it public. I wanted it pubic. Jeez, people will get it right. Indeed. One letter. Did you hear, by the way? Oh man, I'll have to play something for you in a minute. that reminds me of something. I'll have to play something for you in a minute. But give me 1 second here. Okay, because this report was or is a public record, there is nothing unlawful or unethical about me posting it. And, you notice this, Woodnick gets thrown in. If Woodnick actually believed my posting the report was a violation of an order, all he had to do was ask Judge Matta for sanctions or other relief. He actually did complain about it. Well, he brought it up. You know, one of the things in the court that he did cede was this idea. You notice he asked Dr. Deans whether or not she had actually consented to her report being posted. You notice that? Like if you go back and you listen, there are a few high points in expert witness testimony. The expert witness testimony for Laura Owens, the high point is it's a train wreck. You know, it's just an absolute fucking train wreck. The high point for Dr. Deans, again, it was good testimony. But the high points there were the stuff about Planned Parenthood, stuck out. of course, wiping out the whole idea of the other expert witness, just canceled them out. Plus, also placed doubt on tests. But in this, and you wouldn't have thought about it in the moment, there's this thing too. Like, this came up in the aftermath. You didn't know that this was going to happen, but it did. Isn't that amazing there? What's up, Mel? Thanks for the 5 there. We've had Chris from Rumble on talking about the case. That'll be good. I actually review that and look at it. You know, Rumble, I will say, if you look up a case, if you look up anything, Rumble does not show up in a lot of searches. Like, if you search topics, they don't show up at all in search engines. In fact, sometimes I was joking about this to somebody, and I said this on the live stream a couple of days ago. If you search the word Rumble oftentimes is not part of the, or it used to not be. I don't know if it is now, but back when you search Rumble, the company wouldn't pop up. You'd have all this other stuff, including just random tiny items. You know, it's crazy. Hey, John, thanks for the 5 there. Garm, look them up. They're holding everybody in check. Yeah, there's companies like that, man. I can't believe you got this is just crazy. I can't believe you got the word fuck through a super chat. That's amazing. That's by itself. That is actually probably the biggest accomplishment on the day. I can't believe it let it through. I've had super chats censored for words like, I put in the phrase clown world, and I've had them one time. Now, they're not doing it now. I'm not saying that. But in the past, they've censored phrases like clown world. They did that on a flashcast once. So it's just amazing. That is an accomplishment by itself. But yeah, it's a shame that, speech is held captive. But anyway, that is a good topic for a good portion of the live stream for sure. But of course it continues. Wait. He never did this because there's no order prohibiting sharing Dean's report. Wouldnick knows that. Everyone knows that. Again, no. Of course, I also filed and posted our expert report. That doesn't make it better. By the way, that doesn't make it better in any way, shape, or form. He's like, well, I put out, in fact, he's admitting to something that he wasn't supposed to do. He's out here bragging, well, I dropped them both but that's so bizarre. It's fascinating to me. You would think he would register the idea that it doesn't, we're not talking about partiality or being impartial. Because I don't expect him to be impartial. He's getting a paycheck not to be impartial. So, everything that he's pretended wasn't there. Hey, point out to me an instance of her lying and I'll drop the case. Like, like so much of a bad habit. I'll drop it in a cocaine heartbeat. Oh, wait. Maybe we don't agree on what a heartbeat is. It's been stuff like that. Allegedly. No, actually that did happen. He says this was done because Laura has a right to explain her side of the story and to respond to JFC's lies. It's fascinating to me that this isn't about her responding to random people on the internet, by the way. She's done plenty of that. In fact, we were finding out just how bad this was through the police reports. With the police reports, it wasn't going in and finding. Again, people do some terrible things in cases, and they'll do them in real life online. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about taking every random damn person that posts about a subject, pretending that someone depending on the day, some days they're all Greg Gillespie, Some days they're all Clayton Echard, but she did spend a lot of time responding, and nobody's complaining about that. In fact, I have a field day when she's posting about stuff. If Laura wants to respond, fucking A, respond. Write 13 more blogs, I'll read them. You know, I read every one of them live. That's not the issue there. And he knows that's not the issue. He weasels. He tries to weasel out of situations that are created by himself, by the way. Again, he has been like a wrecking ball that has come in. This thing is already a wasteland. But anything, any chance, if you imagine, you know, like some post-apocalyptic world, you know, you have like structures that are damaged in the landscape. Maybe there's a chance for her. Maybe. It's like one of these, you know, these desolate freaking buildings. And Gingrich rolls in with a wrecking ball and he's like, nah, no chance at all. I'm going to make this stuff so bad that she's going to end up getting referred to prosecution. And he's going to have problems along with it. I mean, this guy, it takes a special somebody to fuck up something this badly. And he's done it. He's done it. He's been amazing with it. By the way, John, thanks for the 5 there. Viva's awesome. He's getting censored. He does a lot, actually, you know? Yeah, I've liked what he's had to say on a lot of stuff. Here's the thing, too. I don't always agree with anybody. But I like that people put thought process, like they're thoughtful about it, very articulate about it. They try to cover, you know, sides of an equation. And I think that he tries to do that. So for sure. And also, John, thanks for additional 5. JD Delay is fighting the PDF files. Wood chipper. There are a lot of, and you know, there are some big names that have been banned doing that. There have been some big names. And yeah, none of that is ever considered friendly for not just advertisers, but platforms. It's crazy. You know, it's crazy that the same thing like, you know, used to have shows on TV where they would expose these kind of monsters. But nowadays, I can't expose them. In fact, actually, I saw something. This is random, but I do want to mention this. So I noticed another default that they're trying to use for the PDF files. They're trying to call them RSOs. And when I first saw that, I was like, what is an RSO? I don't understand that. And it's a registered sex offender, RSO. Now, again, you know, that's not that's not a nice label to have on you either. But it's not the PDF file, all right? They try to minimize it because they don't post the whole thing. They call them RSOs, just like maps. You know, if you're like, minor attractive person, oh, gross. You know, when you spell it out, it's like, ugh. But no, they're taking shorthand. And now they're calling them things like RSOs. Yeah, that's another trick. I noticed that in the last week. I noticed that happening a lot on Twitter. Twitter is the best place to notice these new attempted trends to try to minimize things. So anyway, back to this. I get so mad about that topic sometimes because I feel like, you know, it's not just, I complain about our system not protecting kids, but it's not just the system. Like it's platforms or anything else. They pretend to. But then they ban people that actually point out things. They'll call people protected classes. Just gross. Anyhow. This was done to counter the JFC lies. Dr. Dean's report was particularly useful in this regard because of how non-convincing and evasive it was. Wait a minute. Dr. Dean's was non-convincing and evasive. Are you kidding me? Now, he loves to do this kind of stuff, pretending, you know, this is one of the things, this is why I say that when you look at, if a trial is going to be discussed, it's good to have the documentation itself, or it's good for you to see it. Because you have people like, Gingras, not only is he blowing a gasket through this entire conversation, but on top of that, he's out here trying to convince you that Dr. Deans was not convincing. And Dr. Deans was very convincing. Dr. Deans didn't really have to be very convincing, to be honest, though, because Laura Owens had already done the damage. But Dr. Deans was actually a very credible witness. She did a very good job explaining everything. And again, she was following up an absolute moron. I mean, a moron. And the idea of evasiveness, I would love for it to be pointed out to me how Dr. Deans was evasive. I mean, Dr. Deans was spot on going over everything. That's just so strange. It's so bizarre to hear that. Hey, Mel, thank you. Welcome. Thank you for the membership. Welcome to Tugs Thugs, by the way. Appreciate you. And John dropped another 10 gifted memberships. We got members popping up everywhere. I love it. I love it. Thank you, John, man. Appreciate you. This stream has been sponsored by many, including memberships with John. I like it. We should have a category. I wish it could assign a category. Wouldn't that be cool? Like membership by, and it has like a little note. I think that would be really cool. That way people know, that's been gifted to you by a specific person. I think that would be cool. Be like kind of just another item there. I think that'd be awesome. But in short, there was and is no court order preventing the publication of Dr. Dean's report. Any such order would have been unlawful. Anyway, now it's unlawful to say that it would have, if that would have been posted. It's fascinating to hear the double talk and everything that he throws out there, too. Anything that goes against Gingras is somehow unlawful. They don't understand the law. You notice how everybody doesn't understand anything except for Gingras. It's amazing. I mean, this guy stands over in the corner. No wonder I'd never heard his name really brought up before. He can talk about how he stood up. I was on Dr. Phil once. So what, man? All it really takes to be on these shows is just to be an absolute jackass. I mean, Dr. Phil launched Catch Me Outside Girl. Come on. Made them a star. So it's not a high bar, is what I'm saying. Oh, Lord. This guy, though, I mean, he thinks he knows better than the judge is. And I'm not saying judges don't get things wrong, too. I've seen judges get stuff wrong, sure. But you notice everything that's out there, if someone disagrees with him, and if they call him on his own words, like one of my favorite things that has happened with saying Gingras is when Megan Fox wrote him and asked him about people, that ended up in jail, after they faced off with him. And he was like, I didn't say they caused by me. And he was like, no, you heavily inferred that, my friend. It's so amazing how wormy he is. And nothing else I posted about the case was restricted by any order. Nothing else. It's just strange to put the way he said that. And nothing else. It's just weird there. This is just false JFC propaganda. It's all propaganda. You notice he blames everything on JFC too. This phantom group. Anybody again that looks at this case and they think, what a bunch of insanity. It's attributed to this thing he calls JFC. It's just amazing to me. There's a cult out there. And it's like, nah, dude. It's like you and your client and a couple of people that are directly linked with the client, like her mother, versus common sense. I mean, in this instance, JFC seems like shorthand for common sense. Just freaking common sense. That's what JFC means. Just freaking common sense. Never realized that, but he's pointed that out. What's up, Stick Print, by the way? Thanks, Rob. I think the expert witness statements should be subject to sanctions if it's proved to be bad and just as grift. Yes, actually, I think that's one thing we've discussed before too. I mean, it's not added on for Clayton's expert, but the expert that they brought in, yeah. They were brought in, they were demolished on the stand. And you could tell, like they said, oh, well, we took this scientific method to engage everything. You know, they went through X, Y, and Z, but you notice they skipped a lot of other things through that. So, yes, it should be sanctioned, but there's a lot of protections for that. Well, they are protected. I mean, it's amazing. You know, like these doctors, for example. Like that guy, when he was in practice, he would probably be held to a higher standard than he was as an expert witness. Don't you think that's kind of messed up? They have much more, like if you get called as a witness, like Clayton, let's just throw a name out there. Clayton, for example, he's held to a higher standard than the expert witness for the other side would be. Like I think that's horrible. You see them every now and then get in trouble, but by and large they don't. By and large they never have any problem there. In this case, in particular, I thought, you know, they went out, they hired somebody that would reflect their side of things. It was so transparent. But, he says, HW's complaint also addressed other things, such as they claimed I called a bomb squad at trial, claimed I had drug-sniffing dogs at trial, claimed I followed a witness. These are just crazy JFC talking points, which are completely 100% false. I don't remember, by the way, making those particular talking points. I do remember him calling in. I feel like what they were doing definitely stirred up enough fear, stoke that fear that something was going to happen, that it could have gotten some people hurt. For sure, that's what it felt like. Oh, you know, Mike Mancini, the way that they addressed those people, it definitely felt like, you know, they were going to, he went out of his way to cause problems. As far as the others, I don't know. I'd like to see the complaint written out right here. Again, I already gave, the bar my full written response to both complaints. You notice, by the way, he knows this is going to be read. This is his highest hits on this, too. Listen to the butthurt about people like myself, and people like Dave especially. They fucking hate him. They hate him with a passion. Megan Fox. It is all. But he says, this was done 8/7. The same day the complaints were sent to me, the response to Dean's was 70 pages. HW 58 pages. So he's saying, think about this. I want you to really drink that statement in there too. He's saying that the day that he got those complaints, he sent in 128 pages in response. What the what now? You know, does that tell you that maybe he was expecting this possibly? I mean, I can put together something pretty quickly. I realize there's some standard boilerplate pages you'll put together, but you've read a lot of his statements. You know, you've read a lot of what he has to say about stuff. And he goes on these long, just strange tangents. Now, again, we've made fun of the orange man tangents. We've talked about some of the stuff that he threw at Clayton during cases. But he's telling you on the same day the complaints were sent to him. Imagine 128 pages in response. Even if this guy, he reminds me, he's like a living example of quantity over quality. You know, I wouldn't trade 100 pages written by this dude for like 3 pages written by somebody that was really apt at their profession. You know, I could believe he'd word vomit up 128 pages. We've seen his blog posts, but do they mean anything? That's nuts. That is absolutely nuts. Man, there's 950 of you today, by the way. Thank you. You know, I was told by somebody the other day that people didn't care about this case. And I was like, are you kidding me? There are a lot of people. Well, it's not as important as, you know, I brought up like Mr. Bell. Well, you should make sure to cover that. That's more important. I'm like, it's not more important. It has more hits to it. It has more people that might search it out. But this case is very important. It's important enough, and props to all you folks that made this point and got everybody, including myself, to pay attention to it. This was important enough that the people involved are looking at consequences for their behavior. You know, right now, Gingrich is looking down the barrel of consequence. That's why he's freaking out. That's why he's so mad about it. I keep telling people, I'm like, you know, this, if more people heard about this case too, I think they would be aghast at what happened here. Because to get to this point, and every case that we cover has this one point that fits in. Look at the cost. You know why Mike Maroncini and Greg Gillespie didn't get justice, in my opinion? There's a few things. I've talked about, you know, problems in the justice system, but a major problem is money. I mean, even for Clayton Echard, there had to be a lot of things align and fall into place for him to go out and get justice. The money component, though, is insane. And now, like I said, these people, they're looking at consequences. One of the things that, like Gingrich did, is he papered this trial. A lot of them will do that. You know, they'll throw hundreds, thousands of pages at something at a time. They'll just keep, again, papering something and hoping that either they delay processes or that you'll miss something. So then, you know, in the aftermath, they might have some grounds to complain about your behavior. To complain about it, maybe they can get an appeal. But it's bad enough that, again, it's been referred to for prosecution. We brought that up. It's big enough right now that you have prosecutors discussing it openly. So yeah, it does matter. But he says then, look at this. I have no intention of providing free content for YouTubers, so I'm not sharing these. Buddy, you don't even have to do that. Your meltdown, I don't even need your comments. If you want to post that, that'd be fine. I'd definitely read through it because it would be fascinating to look at and to watch like him try to argue his way out of how this is not relevant. But it's funny. He's like, I'm not providing free content. It's like, yeah, you are, dude. You really are. Your meltdowns on this, they are definitely content, and they are something to behold. They're magical in their own way, aren't they? John, also, thank you for an additional 5 gifted memberships. I've been watching. I've got the chat set up a little bit better this time. Thank you, John. I'm trying to set up the chat where I can't pull it up on screen here because it slows down my main computer. Our internet is so bad in some of our areas. Even though it's not as bad as places that I've lived before, but if I pull up the chat, it slows things down considerably. So what I do is I watch it on another device. Now, I'm trying to set it up where I've thought about pulling the chat on like a separate monitor or something. Like hooking my phone up to a monitor so I can actually watch what you all say, because I always like to see what you all are saying. But to end this, he says, I'm confident the bar will see both complaints for what they are, and both will be dismissed. You notice, he said, anytime he's been competent about something, how many of those things have gone sideways? You know, we've joked about other people. Yeah, I like to give in Ricardo Law, for example, a hard time when he was like, I hope you make $1 million. As people, like, when he would say that, people would have, I was like, wish me $1 million, like, in a totally sideways way, man, please. I mean, again, I'm saying that as a joke there, but it was the same thing on that. David, anytime he brings up something, it's the same way. It's like, I have full confidence that this will go my way. It won't. It won't. He needs to post, like David needs to be, I have full confidence that umbrella guy, he's going to disappear. And be like, oh man, I'm blowing up everywhere. I love it. I think it's so funny. But in the meantime, since the bar seems interested in attorney conduct related to this case, drink this in. We will be advising them about Greg and Isabel's actions so they can take a look at them. Now, notice that last sentence there. In his meltdown, he's not only blamed the other side for stuff, but he says, remember his first post on this. Remember how it started out, okay? He said, and I'm gonna make sure you can see this here because it just shows you what kind of meltdown that he's having. He said, quote, in my 20 plus years in Arizona, I've only filed one bar complaint against another lawyer. So he's bragging about how he has never filed bar complaints, and yet he gets bar complaints. Again, he gets a complaint from Dr. Deans. He gets a complaint by HW. And he's like, his answer to this is retaliation. Like, to be honest, I think this shit right here is a complaint in and of itself. Because he's talking about retaliating. I'm confident that the bar, they're going to side with me. But in the meantime, I'm going to go after these other folks. Like, you tell me that isn't an admission of retaliation. Because that's what that looks like to me. Doesn't it look like that to you? Like, when I looked over this stuff, I thought, man, he is having a complete meltdown. And when he is, he's saying the kind of things that were unspoken at first. It's fascinating to me. Let's see, too. He also, he's been answering other items as well. Let me see. Let me pull this up here. I thought this was good, too. So when he's asking these questions, people, of course, or when he's saying, whether I said asking questions, when he's making these statements, other people are asking him questions, and he's responding. And he responds with things like this, which are kind of fun. Quick question he's asked. Why are you willing to respect the desired anonymity of someone who submitted a bar complaint against you, but are not willing to extend that same courtesy to a victim/ex of Laura's that never wanted to be named publicly? Now, drink that in. He's being asked again. There was a victim out there. Now, what's fascinating is his answer. It seems to me to be agreeing that this person is a victim, right? He's just like, well, I have the opportunity to go after them and splash their name around, so I took it. He's not denying that that's a victim, though. Heather, thanks for the 2. He's the Mr. Magoo of law. That's pretty funny. I thought that was a funny statement. That's good times there. Oh, very good stuff. Fun times. Say, Froggy Girl, what's up, Froggy Girl? How you doing, too? Thank you for 5 gifted memberships, too. Man, this has been a membership fest. Thank you, Froggy Girl. Thank you, John, man. And Fallen Hero, Sandra, man, all you folks. Again, thank you all of you that show up and allow the channel to cover whatever. I appreciate you with that too, very much. I can't even express how much I appreciate you folks. David says though, just remember as an answer to this, Laura asked for confidentiality order. Clayton opposed this, and the court denied Laura's request. That lack of confidentiality was purely Clayton's fault. So it's Clayton's fault that the quote-unquote victim / ex of Laura that never wanted to be named publicly was named. It's not David's fault for dumping that out there. It's actually Clayton's fault. Isn't that fascinating? And again, he's not denying that that person is a victim of. He's saying, well, since they opposed that, he has every right to throw them out there. And he did, by the way. I want to make that again. I said this before, but I want to make this very clear to you folks. A lot of other people saw this name come up, and they knew that it would be wrong to throw this person's name out there because they didn't want to. Again, I think 100%, they should, of course, make a statement to help other people. But, as a victim in this, you just want to move on with your life. You want your life to go on. That's it's a horrible chapter for any of these folks involved. And most of them, unfortunately, most of the guys that have been involved in this, they've not been able to turn the page. You can look at what happened with Clayton and see. But if a person is, they definitely want to. And many of them have tried to do that. But he posts in here, look, it's Greg. Oh, look, Isabel. Oh, man. Look, they object to the unverified motion for confidentiality because free speech. It's fascinating, too. This guy believes in free speech, right? He's a free speech lawyer, unless it's speech that he doesn't like, too. That's always fascinated me as well. Remember, he put in his commentary about, free speech unless Dave. Let me see if this volume will come on here. Tell me if there's a volume problem when I pull this up. So, that was denied, but the judge did say that neither side should be sharing medical records outside of themselves. Can you acknowledge this? So here's 30 seconds. Let me make sure that volume is all the way up.
It's not us trying to hide the ball. It's us trying to make sure that my client's medical records aren't shared with the entire world.
All right, we'll have the minute at 3 reflect that no party is to disclose outside of themselves any medical or other documentation disclosed between the parties. That goes both ways. I don't want anyone releasing any exhibits, medical records, or anything else regarding the other person. And that goes both ways, and truthfully should go.
It's not us trying.
So you notice that again. Hear that again, this part.
Medical or other documentation disclosed between the parties. That goes both ways. I don't want anyone releasing any exhibits, medical records, or anything else regarding the other person.
So, you hear it straight up. I don't want anyone. This goes both ways. I don't want anyone doing that. Could you make that any clearer? That's pretty damn clear, wouldn't you say? Let me mark this, by the way. Appreciate that, Booger fan. I love boogers. What a day. I love boogers. Like, think about this in life. Did you ever think that you would see cloud-hungry David Yingris arguing with I love boogers? That is, oh my God, my eyes watering a little bit. That hit me pretty funny. Well, I love boogers, you know. Your point is, oh my God, that cracks me up. Holy God. All right, here, let's continue. His take on that. His take on what the judge meant. Oh, so he's going to, so the judge, even though the judge, I thought the judge made that very clear. Don't you think that's a very clear statement by the judge? I mean, when you went through, do you think that that there was any wiggle room in there where it's open for, well, you know, I think I've been watching Lost, you know, the TV show Lost. I've been rewatching that. And in it, there's a lot of things that are open for interpretation. You know, I've gone through trying to figure it out. The courtroom we're not talking about being stranded on an island here and trying to decipher the enigma of the hatch, you know, or what the others are. This is pretty black and white, right? But he's like, here's my take on that. Laura asked for confidentiality. I denied that completely, but the lawyer should not share the other party's medical records without consent. If that happens, maybe I will change my decision and issue a protective order. But it never happened. Now, did you hear any of that in there? Did you hear? I want to read that again. I'm going to read these two together. I want you to hear them together, okay? I'm going to read this part right here that he says together with this statement, okay?
Any medical or other documentation disclosed between the parties. That goes both ways. I don't want anyone releasing any exhibits, medical records, or anything else regarding the other person. And that goes both ways. And
that goes both ways. So did you hear, quote, Laura asked for confidentiality. I denied that completely. But the lawyer should not share the other party's medical records without consent. If that happens, maybe I will change the decision and issue a protective order. Did you hear that in any way? Did you decipher that way? Because I'm at a loss for where that part came up. You know, it's amazing. Again, it's very clear. Now, he's not going to admit wrongdoing, of course. He's not going to go in and say, yeah, of course I screwed up there. Of course I've opened myself up for sanctions. Of course I've opened myself up. And he's also in a really bad place, too, because he went after the judge hard in this case. Remember, he not only went after the judge, he went after the judge's family. I would say, and again, I think the judge has been very fair, very thorough in what they've attempted here. But I don't feel like I'm going out on a limb and saying that maybe, just maybe, going after a judge would be a very stupid decision. Going after their family would be a very stupid decision. Saying that the judge was like totally trying to impress their daddy. You know, look at me, Dad. I'm a real judge now. Maybe that was probably that's probably the stupidest thing you could have done in this. You know, when you're looking down the barrel of the judge again, I felt had been pretty lenient with the way that she had approached stuff. You know, with Laura on the stand, some of the things that she did, the judge was lenient despite the fact that she had said, hey, you need to answer questions directly. Or she was also very lenient with Gingras. Maybe that's a problem too. Maybe people give him a little bit too much leeway and he feels like he can just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. But that last push that he made, where he's trying to disqualify the judge, I mean, the stuff that he was posting, he wasn't just posting this in documentation attached to the court either, just to make this clear. He was making statements through blogs, through posts, that again went after not only the judge and the judge's credibility, but also went after the judge's family. Like when you start targeting somebody's family, I don't care who they are. Like that's probably the dumbest damn thing you could ever do. But hey, you know, who am I to say, right? John, Also, thank you again. 5 gifted memberships. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, my friend. Like, that's amazing. Thank you, John. And Heather, thanks for the 2 there. Gingrass as a sheep in wolf's clothing. Yes, indeed. I feel like that too. You know, he's he bays a lot. He pretends that he howls a lot, but ultimately, the damage that he does is insane. And I mean, he's been, like I said, he's been spending an exorbitant amount of time trying to convince people that what he did was right. So check this out. There's more posting about he deleted one post. Okay, so check this out here. Now I don't know what he deleted at the top, but he was posting about this. He said on January the 17th, 2024, Laura filed a motion asking the court for a protective order. If granted, that would have allowed people to keep info confidential, including deposition transcripts, witness names, records, etc. In case you missed it, by the way, check out Gingrich Law, where he's posting everything. And again, you saw the one screenshot. Let me focus this. Give me 1 second here. Make sure it posts everything. I want to make sure I can pull up the exhibits that he's showing. So he put on here, you know, along with, again, we saw this already, that he was, we could see that, rather, in there. You could see the motion for confidentiality, Laura Owens. He was like, well, requests that remain relevant, discoverable information remains confidential and is not disseminated to anyone. He says party depots, designated as confidential. 2 days later, 19th of January, 2024, Mr. Gold Standards of Ethics. You look at this, look at this alti-biage, you know. Mr. Gold Standard of Ethics. You know it's getting to him. You can smell it on there. Files a brief opposing Laura's motion for a protective order. He literally, let's see. There's more of that. He literally argued Clayton had First Amendment rights to share information about the case. He even asked for sanctions. Wait a minute. Didn't he just complain that there was no request for sanctions on any stuff that was happening? That if there was actually a problem, that Mr. Gold Standard for Ethics, as he's calling him, Greg Woodnick, would ask for sanctions? Well, apparently, he was asking for sanctions. Oh, that's fascinating. He admitted to something. That's fascinating, isn't it? Laura B, thanks for the 21 months, too. Gingrich is a gaslighter like Laura Owens. Indeed, I very much agree with that. And Toadette, thank you for that super sticker too. That's a cute super sticker I saw roll in. Thank you. I like some of the different ones. Thank you. Actually, like I said, I appreciate you guys, all of y'all. But it is amazing, isn't it? He discloses, well, yeah. Now, and what did the court have to say about confidentiality? February the 21st, 2024, the judge denied Laura Owens' motion in its entirety, as Clayton requested. Apparently, we're going back to the cult again. You know, you're a cult. You know? Apparently, the JFC cult member. They're a cult member. What do you have to be in this cult, by the way? You know? Since he keeps talking about everyone being in a cult here, what do you have to be, you know? Use a little bit of that common schmintz, you know, that he seems so fond of ignoring. I mean, is that what it takes? But he's like, here's another copy. It's also on your site. So, entered by the court. The court has received and considered petitioner's motion for confidentiality, preliminary protective order, filed on. It is ordered denying the motion for confidentiality and the protective order. Again, he's playing at something that he knows. You heard this statement, but he knows was a problem. And he's arguing all this publicly too. So recap, he says. Again, don't you love his recap? Oh, it's a recap, because I didn't do anything wrong, is what he's trying to say. Laura asked for confidentiality. Clayton not only opposed this, he asked for sanctions because Laura had the temerity to make the request. The court sided with Clayton and refused to allow anything to be designated confidential because that's what Clayton wanted. That's so bizarre. Again, his whole argument, it's their fault. It's not my fault. It's their fault. But I'm the bad guy. Look at this. But I'm the bad guy. Me? Because something I filed contained an attached email from Woodnick that showed the name of an ex-boyfriend? I'm the bad guy? And he knows exactly what he did. It wasn't the filing that he put out there. He dumped it into the public before anything popped up on the ECR and without the benefit of any redaction whatsoever. He put out, if you didn't know what happened with that, by the way, what he did for that person, there was an email communication. This was not, I want to stress this was not a filing by Greg Woodnick containing said item. This was something, again, that was a communication between lawyers. And in that communication between the two lawyers, he decided that he would throw that in, to quote unquote make his point. And it had this person's name in it that had never said anything at all. And a lot of people pointed out that this was wrong too. And what did he do? He went to bat he not only didn't care. When people, again, pointed out that this was a mistake, hey, you should remove that and redact it. That's what the public was asking. The public was like, hey, why would you do that? He came in with the same type of arguments he is now. I can do whatever I want. And it's like, oh, yeah, you can't. You actually can't. People were warning him. That's the thing. A lot of people watched his back better than he could. See it? Also, thank you for your super chat there. There's no statement attached to it, but there's plenty of statement and backing. So thank you for your backing. I appreciate that. But he says, if that person's privacy was so important, why did Woodnick object to Laura's request to keep anything confidential? This is such a bad faith argument. It's so bad faith. And he knows that it is. Again, he knows that he is looking at a potential issue, not for Laura, but for himself. Like I said, he has dug so many holes in this case. They're not just problems for him. They're not just problems for her. They're problems for the entire case, everyone involved. It's amazing. Typically, with the approach that he's taken, you see this bull in the china shop approach sometimes. You see people come in, and try to treat things like a wrecking ball, as it were. And they have some type of line. They know that there's going to be some type of issue that's going to pop up from this type of behavior, so they walk a line. This guy didn't walk any lines whatsoever. He chose to outright ignore what the judge had said, and again, redefine it in his own words. He told you, this is actually what the judge is saying. I know you think those words, they mean this, because this is what the judge actually had to say. But no, that's not what the judge actually said. The judge is instead saying, if you do this, then I might possibly reconsider the protective order. And it's amazing. He blames Woodnick. He blames Echard. And beyond that, like I said, he is talking about retaliation. Do not forget the most important statement, I think, in all of that was, again, this part. I'm going to advise the bar about Greg Woodnick and about Isabel. I've seen some nasty behavior before. I mean, this takes the prize. And this is just a small sampling of what has been going on for the last, well, really couple of days from him. I mean, he's answering. The last thing that he answered, let me see. So the last thing that he actually answered was the one post that I did show you. But let's just flow through here real fast. If you go through his reply section, again, we hit that. But he's asked things. The maybe, we saw this. But he said, I would add this. If the judge had actually said, Laura cannot release her own medical records to respond to lies published by Clayton, that order would have been 100% illegal and void. It's a prior restraint, as Woodnick correctly argued when he fought confidentiality. So the judge, you look at what he's saying here. He's adding to this statement where he's like, well, maybe I'll change it. He said, if the judge actually had said, and again, he puts in lie, like the judge is going to go, oh, well, the other party over here, she can't respond to their quote unquote lies. I mean, are you kidding me? So bad faith. Let me relight my cigar. Give me a second. Keeps me from freaking blowing a gasket some days. I tell you, some of this stuff I want to laugh at, but I also want to be like, what in the world? Daniel thinks, have you heard of the meeting? That could have been an email. Yeah, Greg Gingras, whether he writes emails, that would have been a meeting. Yeah, I was going to say, like, he writes them to Woodnick, especially like that. Have you noticed that? Like when he writes emails to counsel, it's like he's having it's like a board is sitting there and he's talking to a board of people, but it's all really just him. It's so strange to watch and try to decipher the insanity. But I mean, look at all this. Check this stuff out. I want to pull up the other, like, again, he's having a meltdown on it. So here is about this is also about the whole thing with the ex, the victim. I was trying to think of how I almost said their name, and I'm like, their name's already out there, but I don't feel comfortable bringing their name up. I just don't. That's one reason. It's not like the name hasn't been out there, but this person didn't want their name attached to this. And again, I respect that. That's why I call them a patient zero. When the filing came up and everything, yes, that name was included. But, again, we saw how the case played. There were plenty of people that talked about it. Again, I wish they could come forward with their story. But, victims, man, they have the right not to be re-victimized, especially by lawyers. So you see this question again. It's the same question about the ex victim, so I'm not going to reread that one. But he also responded this too. He said, this is insane. Woodnick mentioned that name to me when I first got involved, and he never said anything about protective, he said, but protecting, I'm going to say that name. So I didn't know it was some massive secret. And Laura asked the court to seal everything. That was denied. Am I supposed to be a mind reader? So, again, it's Greg Woodnick's fault that in communications that no one would ever see, that he threw out names. And here's the thing with him. Remember, he's thrown out. He didn't just go after, like, putting out names. He went and dug up information about prior boyfriends. He put this stuff publicly. He went out and dug up just insane stuff. Remember, Gillespie was like, hey, what the heck? He motivated these guys to come in and to actually want to talk about that. That's him. But he painted bullseyes on them. So, we're not just talking about behavior in which, oopsie, I named a name, that was actually my bad. If we were talking about something like that, again, if he were in it, the public told him it was a problem. They were like, hey, that name shouldn't be out there. I mean, there was a massive amount of blowback to it, and he responded to that blowback. So for the way that he's arguing this is a bunch of bullshit, and he knows that. This is so bad faith. Are you a mind reader? Like, again, he pretends that there was this one oopsie that I may have committed, but really, that's actually their fault. They didn't tell me. Woodnick didn't tell me that I should redact this name. And it's like, are you kidding me? And also, they fought the idea that she could keep everyone else from hearing about this stuff. I mean, it's just craziness. So let's keep going down through there. You can see, though, again, you can see the loss of composure. He was also asked a question. I cannot see the person that's asking this. They could have blocked me. I'm not sure. I can't tell who that is. They could either have their account locked, they could have pulled that down, or they could have me blocked. It's amazing. It's always amazing to see, like, and again, it's your social media. But I'm not sure, when we see it, it doesn't tell us why you can't see that. Like I said, they could be, locked down, but it's probably a block there. But the answer to this, again, you see that this is to everything that he noted about the 8-7 for Dr. Deans and HW. And he says, if the bar decides to pursue a formal case against me, then yes, at that point, I'd be happy to share my written responses. Until then, there's no value in it. Instead, he's going to write essays about this online, arguing. But he knows that if he puts out his actual response, they'll look at it and they'll tear it apart because they know most of the stuff that he posts or he writes is absolute bullshit. So his response, again, I don't know how to call this anything but a meltdown. But he's like, until then, there's no value. The complaints are groundless. Sharing my response would only enrich YouTubers shamelessly exploiting Clayton. Oh, man. So now we're shamelessly exploiting Clayton. What does that mean for Gingras and all the stuff that he's done? If it's shameless exploitation to talk about what's happened in a case, where Clayton, again, won the case. So when people went through this, I think this case, by the way, it wasn't, most people would never cover something like this. If this were just some paternity issue, even a scandal, this would not be covered. Nobody would have known about it. Because I'm sure Clayton didn't want his name attached to it. You could absolutely tell that. He didn't want to talk about this at all. But he was forced to because articles came out about it. There was coverage on it. So for him to say, shameless exploitation, I would say the shameless exploitation started when a person went out and faked pregnancy. They took it to the media. They tried to include that in their next chapter, I'm sure, for the next TEDx talk. What the Bachelor did to me. I'm sure they would. I'm sure that's where we were going. One day, I want to ask you all about this too. Since we know how this case turned out, what do you think about looking through the medium? The TEDx talk. I've sat down and watched part of it, but I've never made it through that thing. And I thought about doing it, but at the same time, I don't know if I can do it. I might do it in a stream one day. I don't know. Because I think, there's value in looking at certain items, especially considering the prosecutors here. They're trying to deem whether or not they should do anything reactive. And there are a lot of pieces out there that aren't just attached to Clayton. They're the stories that are attached to the other guys. And that's what TEDx is really about. It's about burying these other people. And I don't want people to forget them. I'm not saying anyone will, but I think, when the public sees this, the public doesn't understand that there were other people too. Like most of the public that's heard about this, they've heard about the bachelor component. But most of them don't realize that there's this background out there, that all of this other stuff could and should be included in complaints. So I've thought about going through. I don't know yet, though. I was wondering what you all thought about that. All right, so let's continue going through here too. Who's asked, do you know who HW is? Woodnick doesn't post anywhere, does he? I have HW's full name. HW asked the bar to seal that info. They rejected that request, so I could post the full name. I could post it, but why would I do that? As for who they are, no idea. Not someone I know, not a YouTuber, not a quote-unquote victim, just a random JFC cult member as far as I know. I don't really know who they are, but this is who they are. Isn't that amazing? It's also, again, it feels like I could dox your name. I could. That, again, the implied threat that comes with that. Knowing who this guy is, it's just how that strikes me. He's also told, about this. He sees me arguing for hours. You're wrong to do your research. February 21st status conference, Judge Mattis stated that it goes without saying, no medical evidence made public, stressing all parties. It was before your time, but that's not an excuse. His response, here's what you don't know. I discussed this issue with Woodnick when I first got involved in the case. I asked him to tell me if he thought Laura wasn't allowed to post her own records. Woodnick did not dispute this was allowed. I've liked there he didn't dispute, by the way. Is that kind of like when Clayton didn't answer Laura on specific items out of her 500 emails? Well, he didn't dispute this. Again, if we're going to play that game, because that's what they always like pretending that if you didn't directly state something that you were agreeing with it. He agrees that that name that he put out there, that person is a victim. Because he didn't directly dispute that, right? I mean, it's just amazing. Like I said, look at all this. Here's another question, but I didn't know enough about how the bar functions to have an opinion on that. But it seems to me like this is wrong. If an attorney is actively hurting their client, it seems like the bar should step in. No, but again, I'm not an attorney. I don't know how these things work. So his thing, for example, I'm an expert in the area of Communications Decency Act, CDA litigation. I promise you, no one at the bar has heard of the CDA, much less litigated a CDA case. So bar staff couldn't second guess my legal advice to a client in CDA case. They need their own expert. Man, he's an expert now in CDA. They'd have to bring in, he's so apt in this. He's so knowledgeable, it would take another expert to knock him down a peg. Isn't that amazing? The ego. The ego. All right, let's see what he's responding to here, too. Like I said, he's responding to people I love. Oh, it's the same. That's that same guy. Okay. So it's the same question. He's actually responding to things. You can also tell he's having him a little meltdown, too, because he's not just responding to people. He's responded to them several times, separately, separate statements. That's why the stray likes are coming in, too, because the person that we can't look at the likes, but I don't feel like I'm going out on a limb saying that a person likes this by, they're saying, oh, yeah, here's the answer. So he gives 3 separate answers to this. They're not stacked answers, they're separate answers. So the bar's primary role is to ensure all lawyers comply with ethical rules. If you read the rules, here they are. But there are too many unique areas of law for bar staff to be qualified experts in every possible area. The bar will get involved if a lawyer totally abandons the client. Beyond that, the bar won't do anything while a case is pending because bar staff, who are not subject matter experts, are not qualified to second guess a lawyer's specific advice in a pending case. Again, this isn't about advice. This isn't about experts. What's going on here is, again, there was a statement saying, don't do this, and he did that. And he also threw another person's name out there. That's part of the complaint, too. Throwing out a victim's name. This has nothing to do with second-guessing an expert witness. Isn't that amazing? Somehow, in trying to explain all of this away, he starts talking about CDA, expert testimony, the bar second-guessing expert testimony. I'm just rolling through here. We saw Judge Mattis say, no medical information should be released to the public. It's on video. You repeatedly ignored that missive, not just with Dr. Deans. You can post as many threads as you want, but the facts are not hard to grasp, he was told. This was on the 9th. And he said, well, if that's true, why didn't Woodnick ask the court to deal with this months ago? That is exactly why the bar said it's inappropriate for them to get involved. These issues need to be raised with the court. The judge knows what she ordered, and I have the right to explain my side. He didn't explain his side in a courtroom either. That's the fascinating thing. I have the right to explain my side. Is he talking about his side of something? No, he's talking about the subject matter outside of the courtroom. He's telling people, too. Check this out. He was like, if you knew me, you'd understand I'm actually a good guy. Yeah, I don't get that feeling. I get that feeling that you take a wrecking ball to anybody that tries to oppose you. And you do anything you could. You brag, again, about people and their downfalls because they stand against you. How'd that turn out, by the way? Your client is facing prosecution, But he's a good guy. I don't suffer lies and bullying. But beyond that, I have no objection to people asking questions or trying to understand facts. That's your right, and I fully support this. Yeah. He doesn't object to people trying to understand or going through things, except, if it's maybe a Dave Neal. Then Dave Neal could be sued into bankruptcy and lose everything, but that's different, right? What's up, K-Matt? Thanks for the send something to you or tried through X. I'll have to check that out and see. Make sure, again, you send it to That Umbrella. Just a note. You can tell the difference. There is a food critic that goes through Umbrella. I don't see anything new. If you sent it before, bump it up, and just put the word bump, and I'll know it's you. Okay. It's at That Umbrella, just to make sure. And Fake Laura Owens, thanks for the 5. Speaking of shameless exploitation, has anyone checked out my Only Feet? $5 for basic, 10 for the pony in the background version. Only feet. I've always joked about how I was going to open up an only feet. That's hilarious. Now, he's also asked, David, I've never had a reason to reply to you before, but I was wondering if you'd be so kind to release a portion of your replies. I'm really curious as to the gist of it. He's like, my replies have been or will be sent to the people who complained. Again, no more feeding free content. Yeah, he's filled up 2 hours already, hasn't he? Hey, W already posted about this. I'm not planning to feed the trolls with more free content so they can continue to profit. No thanks. No thanks. Somebody said to you, I like this here, check this out. Yeah, this long tirade has definitely given the impression that you're totally not upset or concerned at all. All unconcerned people go on long rants about how not concerned they are. And he's like, I'm just trying to help people understand. After that, I don't care. I don't care. I've just been ranting about it for days, right? Have a nice Friday. All the best. Oh my God. That's the same. Oh my God. I was going to read this right here. Like, he's getting asked about the bar. How they get involved. He's like, not sure if I understand, but the bar generally isn't involved in making sure lawyers are competent, post-admission, or doing good jobs for their clients. So, doing a bad job, yeah, maybe they should. Maybe they should be involved. You know, if you're doing a total assed up job for your client. The bar only gets involved after the car goes over the cliff, so to speak. Oh, Lord. And he just keeps going. I mean, look at this. I'm not going to go through everything. But, I mean, look at all that. I mean, this is all attached to. And, you know, again, he had on the 8th. Look at this too. He said, the ethical rules prohibit making a false allegation of misconduct by a judge. This allegation is not false, thus it's not unethical. Look at that. He's saying the ethic rules prohibit making false allegations of misconduct by a judge. He's like, I'm not actually making a false allegation. That person was unethical. So therefore, I'm not unethical. Isn't that wild? I can claim whatever I want because, well, truly I was making a real claim about that. Again, that's what he's been going, I mean, my God. I'm curious, I haven't even looked at the 8th. Let me go back and look at some of that too and see, because for days now. So really, the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th, he spent all of that. So for 3 solid days, it's just been like this snowball effect. And he spent all of his time arguing. Because he feels like he's in trouble. That's what it sounds like to me. Doesn't it sound like that to you? It's something else, isn't it? Heather, thanks for the 5. He doesn't suffer lies and bullying unless it's his clients. The guy's a walking, talking joke. I can't even with him. I know. It's fascinating, though. You see a lot of lawyers. I see a lot of lawyers that, even if I vehemently disagree with them, like, at least I understand what they're trying to do. And I believe, you know, most of them are acting, maybe good faith might be a reach sometimes, but they're at least acting ethically. This guy, he has gone to levels where so much of what he's done it's beyond questionable. Like, he's done things that I don't even know how to, I don't even know how to. I don't even know what to say about him some days. You would think, like, once you got in trouble, once you were facing something, that you would take your foot off the gas, as it were. When you see it's like most people, you slow down at curbs, right? You're driving along the road, you see, hey, bridge washed out. Do not try to cross. Most people are like, hey, I have the sense not to do that. I'll abide by the rules there, but not him. Not him. He takes that as I'll continue to do it. And if he's been doing, what we've seen in this case, if other cases look like this case here, I mean, remember, we made jokes about a lot of this stuff, but it got so bad. Woodnick, they tried to pressure him to have lunch with David Gingras for discussions. And Woodnick was like, yo, I'm not going to do that. I don't have meetings with you. You know what she's accused me of in the past? And this guy, look at what he's tried to do. I mean, it's gotten to that point where you have plenty of filings talking about this guy going well overboard. And his problem, I think, for him is he didn't just, again, point this at Clayton Echard. He didn't just point this at random people out there, whether they're YouTubers or just random person X, while he's going after folks. He didn't just go after witnesses or people, exes, victims of hers that are outside of that didn't want to testify or be involved. He didn't just go after Woodnick in this, or Isabel, or the entire law firm. He didn't just go after a judge's family. I mean, the entire system he's gone after. He's basically said everything in this case is wrong and corrupt. The only people that are truly in the right here are Laura and him. I mean, it just amazes me. Like, doesn't it you? But anyway, I think I'm gonna call it here. I think this is actually a good place to stop for today. This has been a fun live stream. It was good to just sit back and talk about some of the craziness that continues with this case. I really would like to read his responses, though. I'd like to see all 128 pages of that. He's afraid it'll be made into content. But, I mean, he wants the attention. He reminds me of Laura Owens in a lot of ways. He wants the attention until the attention, it ends up blowing up in his face. But anyway. All right. Well, I'm going to call it here tonight. I think it's at a good place. You guys, by the way, check out Flashcast tonight. I may or may not be there. I'm not sure tonight. It depends. I'm going to chill with the kiddos for a little while. If they want to watch a movie or something, I'll take the night with them. And, but if they decide if they're tired, then I'll be on there later. But that's on Yellow Flash's channel. And we will end with a song. Like I said, I appreciate you folks. Let's do a 3-minute one. Here's one. Here's an oldie but goodie, I think.
Don't step to a train then. Junk up to the lawbreaker, the playmaker. Hitting so hard I'll impound your short shorts. Taker, internet lawyer breaker. You try to dance a jig on a grate for 2 you dig, but it's all in your mind, faker.
I'm not an internet joke, you're a cosmic punchline.
Doesn't have a bun in the oven and lawyers. She's on a baker's dozen, and you're then late to the party. The same time slides, it's twists, surprise. You're rewriting come pregnancy words with those lies. Doctor, that umbrella guy, operating with the platinum flow, but apparently you can't follow. So I'll rewind this space in time, slurring to make my point slow. You say you defend free speech, it's alright to preach, but in the same breath you threaten to sue. It's like you always knew just what kind of a joke you are. Keep bumping my sounds in your car. Taco Bell's not behind you all that far. Maybe
Maybe I'll supersize a brand new surprise that hits you like a second tramp stamp. Imagine that, a man with no face, putting your ego in place. Mic check for the guy posting solo. And here's the tip, to step into your verbal doom, so watch this mic rip. And my verbal clips, they're always loaded. I tried to read your file in live, but it's so bloated. You cringe about the orange man line. I had the line, expecting the judge to watch you whine. Please, I'll take some wine with that cheese. Hashtag, hashtag, you're such a disappointment. How much did she pay you for that appointment? You're crying over Dave Neal and Megan Fox, while it's that umbrella guy descending like the pox. And if truth is sickness, maybe you should catch it. Then step back, rewind and respect it. Integrity isn't built on dollar signs. You're so blind to who you are and who you're not. You're blog, that's where justice goes to rot. You want me to get a tent and a sleeping bag, you're gonna sue. What about those ideals you defend? That's not true. A pregnant mouth hires a mouthpiece. All deceased, the coverage she started. Now bump this knowledge I've imparted. Tramp stamp lawyer, the world is laughing at, not with you. Think people will forgive you? Your ambulance chasing on steroids. Is that umbrella guy flexes his syllable deltoids? Can I get box fries with the twin meal and supersize it? That causes mouth babies, yeah, she implies it. And to deflect, you accuse him of the worst thing you can. That's your master plan. Yikes. Won't you think of all the mouth brothers? You're the thing you call others. Hashtag, hashtag, you posted unknown names, playing the worst version of twisted judicial games, helping the lies to grow. Tramp stamp lawyer is gonna get exposed.